All right. Okay. So I think Joshua has done the introductions. I'm Dami, and I'm a UI/UX designer and a design educator. And I'm also the founder of Skillzone, an organization that trains kids in technology skills for free. So today we're talking about rapid prototyping using Figma. So let's dive right into it. So let me know if you all can see my screen. Can we all see my screen? So I'm currently sharing a Figma file. Can we all see it?
Yes, I can see it.
All right, so we can all see this. Amazing. All right, so this is rapid prototyping using Figma. So this amazing slide, I got it from the Figma community. So Figma, like if you use the Figma either desktop app or like the web version, you see something called community. All right, so as a community, you can actually have access to like different things like from other designers in the Figma community. So this amazing deck, I got it from the community. So it was done by a design jam community in Indonesia. So basically, we're just going to be using it, so we don't spend much time on the theoretical part, and we can just dive into the practical, the exercise. All right, so this rapid prototyping using Figma. I believe, like for those that probably won't get everything that we'll be doing right now, the session will be recorded, so you can always revisit it. Okay, so you can always revisit it. All right, so to Joshua, thanks to Friends of Figma Jos for inviting me to take this session. I'm Dami, as you all know, and you can always find me anywhere um, at Damishiriambo _. So at Damishiriambo _. Or you can just type my first name, my last name, and you get me. So Damishiriambo, so you can just search me up and you'll find like a lot of things about me. All right, so what is prototyping and like why is it important? So can I get like one or two people from the audience who just tell me, okay, what do you understand by the word prototyping? Why do you think it's important? And like, why should you prototype your designs? So I'd like people from the audience to chat. All right, so let's just chat. All right, so why? Okay, so why do you? What is you? And why do you think it's important? Why do you think it's important? Just let me know. So I want a few people in the chat section to. Yeah, so Vidya says prototyping will give a quick overview of how an app works. Amazing, that's very correct. Thank you, Vidya. Thanks very much. Yes, any other question? What is where you think it's important, like from your basic understanding? So I believe that the people, the attenders for today's meeting are not like total like beginners to design. You already have knowledge of okay what design is and like a knowledge of probably how to use Figma to come up with some things, or probably you just want to brush up on your prototyping skills, right? Yes, so that's what like today's interaction is, today's session is for. So any more people, you want to tell me what you think prototyping is and like, what you feel about it? Okay, so Ofa says prototyping is the transition of screens, and it's important because you have an overview of the work, so iteration can be done without any line of code. All right, so like it gives you an overview of like the work you've done, like the designs, so that you get to see okay how one screen moves to another, right, before you start coding. Yes, that's actually correct as well. So now let me dive back into my slide. So prototyping is basically creating an iterative, like early concept for our product, right? So think about, okay, you design something right now and you want to show it to a third party, but instead of showing them just screens, you want it to be interactive. So interactive in such a way that, okay, when they click on something, an action happens, okay, or when they scroll, something happens. Like you, instead of your design being static, right? You want it to be interactive, right? And prototyping helps to validate like the idea or the solution, right? So instead of just designing screens and you don't even get to test it with users, that they don't even get to see how one screen moves to another before you start coding, you probably spend a lot of time coding the wrong solution. So like prototyping helps you to validate the ideas, all right, and also to get early feedback, right? To get an early feedback. So let's take it again. It's to create an interactive early concept for your product, to validate the idea or solution, and to get early feedback. All right. So what if we don't create a prototype? What happens if we don't create a prototype? Okay. Still, you'll be able to design the entire app. You'll be able to follow through the whole journey. You design all your screens end to end, right? You spend like the whole month creating the interfaces, like, and probably maybe 3 months to develop the product or code the product. And then when you release the product in masses, what would you find out? You find out that, okay, the product doesn't work. The users do not know how to use that product, or the product is not even solving the problem for which it was created in the first place. So prototyping in the early stages or the initial stages helps you a lot, right? So you have to understand the users. Like, okay, you prototype at the beginning, or your wireframes or your iFiles, and you test it for users. Okay, so it helps you streamline or knock out like having to spend so much time, right, working on your product, and the product ends up failing. So if you did a prototype and you still failed, well, it happens sometimes, right? You know, I said, okay, if you don't do a prototype, your product at the end might end up failing. But what if you did a prototype, yet the product still ended up failing, right? But that's the whole point, to fail often and to fail early. So if you work on your prototype instead, so instead of the 3 months you probably will have spent developing or coding out the app, right, just to see how it interacts. If you spend like 2 days, 3 days, a week, like prototyping the app, right, you will fail early and iterate immediately, okay, compared to spending 3 months developing just to see the same interaction, right? So you fail early, okay, and you go back, you design it all over, prototype it all over, and you test again. So that's what prototyping helps you do. So it helps you fail often and early, right? Okay, so instead of spending so much time, right, you're spending so much time creating the design, then developing, then like now pushing it out there and now failing, you fail early and I iterate faster that way. I don't know if we understand. So if at this point, if anybody has questions, please start writing down your questions on the chat, okay? I think there's a Q&A section. So just start typing down the questions. I'll check them one after the other. So do we need a prototype? Yes, we all agree that we need a prototype. That's why we're actually here in today's session to learn about how to prototype. All right. So not only do we need a prototype, after creating a prototype, it's important that you test the ideas, you get the feedback, and you iterate. Well, some people just create prototype for creating it, right? Oh, I just want to create it. I just want to link all my screens and just have the prototype. Well, the most important thing or the reason why you're creating prototype is so that you can test and validate and get feedback. So if you're just creating a prototype without actually doing the other things, then you're still doing it wrong, right? So when you create a prototype, you should also share that prototype with like your user group, your test, your focus group, your user testing group, so that you can get like feedbacks and you can validate those ideas that you have prototyped. So it's very important. So it's very important. So there are different types of prototyping. Some of you know some, and I'll just talk about like the others. So there are different types of prototyping. The first one is paper prototyping. So there's a way we take our time to draw out all of these things on paper, right? Like just like the minimum things, like not so many like what's it called now? Like the minimal like sketches. Let me put it that way, right? Um, so you draw it down on paper and you try to see, okay, how does one screen move to another? So there are some paper prototyping kits you can actually buy online and then make use of it. There are actually a lot of them. Or you as well can like create yours from paper or cardboard or all of that. So you can create your prototyping, like paper prototyping kits for yourself. Another type of prototyping is low fidelity prototype, right? So click through wireframes, all right, that people can actually click through on a digital tool, right? So there are like several tools you can actually use for low fidelity prototype. You can use Figma, you can use Balsamic, you can use Miro. There are a lot of tools you can actually use to create your wireframes and then prototype it. Okay, so low fidelity prototyping is another thing. So it's higher than paper prototyping. It has more pages. Um, Although the context is still like low, right? We understand how wireframes work. I believe we get an idea of, we know like how wireframes work or how wireframes are designed. Okay, so after you've created your wireframe, you can also prototype them even before moving to the high fidelity designs. All right, even before moving to high fidelity designs. All right, so the last one is hi-fi prototyping. That's where you had like the full-fledged interaction, even the mini interaction, the micro interaction, like all of the smaller bits, right? You've added all your colors, you've added all your buttons, your icons, and you just want to prototype it in detail. Yeah, so that's where hi-fi prototyping comes in, high fidelity prototyping. So we started with paper prototyping, we started with low fidelity, and then we're at high fidelity. So all of these things help you make mistakes early enough and iterate early enough, right? And iterate early enough. Okay, so this is what a typical what's it called prototyping document would look like, right? You see a lot of links going here and there. Yeah, just yeah. Sometimes when I was just starting out design and I see something like this, I'll be like, wow, how did this happen and all of that. But yes, it's common to a lot of us now. So we'll have seen this a couple of times, I believe. You'll have seen this a couple of times, like on different people's social media or maybe your own design board. Okay, so let's talk about Figma prototyping. So let me see if there are questions for now before I proceed, so that I get to answer them. Q&A questions. Okay, so no questions for now, I believe. So if you have questions, please drop it into the Q&A section so that I can answer them. So I believe all of these things I'm talking about, we probably already know them. So we're diving into the practical section right about now. All right, so let's talk about Figma prototyping. So on Figma, you can actually set, okay, the device you want to use. So I'm just going to like just explain briefly. Okay, so you can set the device you want to prototype to show on, especially if it's not desktop. If it's desktop, you just leave it as none. But if it's like a phone or an iPad or an Apple Watch, yeah, you can set the device screen. Also, connection. Yes, you get to connect one frame or one element to another, one frame to another. I'm going to pick all of these things, like just note like the keywords. So there's device frame, then there's connection, all right? Then we have a trigger. So a trigger is what, okay, like the name implies, okay, what should kickstart this particular process? Okay, what should start the event? So what's the trigger? Yeah, so what should start the event? What action should I perform that should start this particular event? So we have a lot of triggers, right? We have on click. Okay, Is it when I click the button, or when I click the image, or when I click the element on drag? Is it when I drag it, left dragging, like, okay, I'm dragging left or right or up or down? Okay, is it while I hover on it? Okay, is it when I leave my mouse on the element? Okay, is it while I hover? Right? Is it while I'm pressing it, or is it using a key or a gamepad? All right. Is it when I use my mouse to, when my mouse enters that particular frame, or when my mouse leaves, or when my mouse moves up or down? Or is it after a delay, right? So let's just take note of all of these things. Okay, so these are triggers. So there are a lot of triggers. Also, there are navigations. Okay, so after my trigger, when I select an action, okay, for that particular screen, what should happen? Okay, should it navigate to another frame? Okay, should it go to another frame, or should it open an overlay? So an overlay is like a pop-up. Okay, should it come as a pop-up, or should it swap with, like, okay, like swap, like exchange with the previous screen that is showing there? Right, so there are different types of navigations as well. Let's talk about this. Okay, so navigate to, open overlay, swap with. All right, so we also have animation. Okay, what type of animation do you want it to have? The transition, you want it to come, move in, move out? Okay, so there are a lot of animations that we're going to explore while we work on our prototype today. All right, so there are different directions as well. What direction do you want your prototype to come in, whether or go out, from the top, from the left, from the right? Okay, then the easing, like how seamless should the coming in and going out be? And as well, what should be the transition duration? What should be the duration for this particular transition? All right, so how fast or how slow should one slide move to another? Should one screen animate to the other? As I said, if you have questions, let's just keep them coming. Okay, let's keep them coming. Let's keep them coming. Now we have transition, still on transition. So there's instant transition, we have dissolve, then there's smart animate. I'll show us all of these things. I'll show us all of these things while we start, when we start our exercise. I'll show us all of these things. Then we have overlays, as I said, the pop-ups. Okay, that's where they come in. Overlays, they're called overlays of Figma. Then we have smart animates. Okay, smart animates means, okay, you want the animation to, instead of you figuring out, okay, how the animation should come in or go out, Figma does the animation for you. Looking at, okay, the previous screen you're coming from and the next screen, it picks out, okay, what's common between them and how should, like, the animation go. So that's like how Figma Smart Animate works. So it's actually it does like the animation for you. Like it selects, okay, how, like what element should look like or how you should move to the other elements. Okay, then for Smart Animate, they're like basic concepts. Okay, that determine, okay, how Figma would animate those things for you. So these are some of them. We'll be looking at them as well when we start our exercise. So if there are any questions, as I said, let's drop it in the chat section. And now let's go into our practical session. So I'll be sharing this link for us. And what I want us to do is to duplicate. All right, so I want us to duplicate this file, and then we'll do the exercise together. So let me just share, copy link, share. Right, so I'll be sharing the link with us. All right, everyone, let's open up this link. So we're about to get busy. We're about to get busy. So for Odile that is busy, well, you're about to get super busy. All right, so let's open up this link, everyone. So let's click on it. Let's click on the link and then duplicate the file. So to duplicate the file, click on the arrow, the drop down arrow right here, and click on duplicate. Click on duplicate. Click on duplicate. So click on the drop down arrow and click on duplicate. So once you click on duplicate, you would see a pop-up that says file duplicated, open. So yes, you are to open your own file. Right, so open your own file. So just click on open to open your own file. So once you open your own file, we'll be working on it together. We're working on it together. So click on the link, duplicate. Right, so you have your own file. You have your own file that you'll be working on. You have your own file that you'll be working on. So let's go to, so we see the pages here. Let's go to exercise 1. Once you've opened your own file, let's go to exercise 1. Exercise 1. Once you've opened your own file, let's go to exercise 1. Once you've opened your own file, everyone, let's go to exercise 1. All right, so let me see how many of us have been. All right, so how many of us have opened our files? How many of us have opened our files? You should just drop it in here. Yes, 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 I've opened my file. You cannot find exercise 1. All right, so you would see it here, pages. So you have pages, you have deck, you have exercise 1. All right, so just open up exercise 1. So just open up exercise. All right, any other person? Have you seen exercise 1? Exercise 1, exercise 1, everyone. Okay, good, good. I have 2 people now. All right. All right, so Kenga has asked a question. So I'm totally new to prototyping using Figma. Can Figma take in data into the text input, keep it, and then provide it in another screen when I need it, like some sort of database? Well, Figma doesn't have like an active database system, but there are like plugins that you can use, I think, to populate your screens with data. So that there are actually a lot of plugins, like Content Reel, to actually generate data for you. There are some awesome plugins you can look at. Okay. All right. So yes, I'm still sharing. All right. All right. So if you can see my screen, this is what your page should look like now. All right. So you have the deck. You have, as I said, I want everyone to duplicate this file. So I don't want you to be on my file because I want you to also be a part of the practical. So let's duplicate. To duplicate, click on the drop down beside the title of the page or the title of the Figma file, and then click on duplicate. So when you click on duplicate, the file gets duplicated and you can click on open. You can click on open. You can click on open. All right, so once you've duplicated it, you see pages here. So we have deck, we have exercise, right? So the pages are the left hand side, right above on your layers panel, right? So we have pages. So this is exercise 1. Right, so this is the exercise we'll be working with. This is the exercise we'll be prototyping with. Okay, so this is the exercise we'll be prototyping with. So I want us to look at it together. I want us to look at it together. All right, so now first prototype we want to work on is tab. Can we all see it? So tab. Okay, so I want to move from one tab to another tab. Okay, I want to move from one tab to another tab, and I want the animation to be seamless. I don't want it to what's it called now? Yes, so I want to move from one tab to another tab. So how would I prototype that? Now, to access your prototyping settings or to access prototype, yeah, you can look at the right hand side, the top right. Okay, so I believe everyone is on their own document. I want everyone to be on your own document. I'm still seeing some people online, so I want you to be on your own document. So Lufumini, yeah, so move to your own document, duplicate this page and move to your own document. All right, so in order to begin your prototype, you have to click on the prototype tab at the right hand side. So let's click on prototype. Okay, so let's click on prototype. All right, so in order to move from one tab, all right, to another tab, here is what we need to do. We need to prototype that exact tab to move to the other one. All right, so this side of the app has been prototyped already. So this is where you perform your exercises. Okay, so if I want to prototype this, all right, I'll click on prototype. Okay, I'll click on prototype. If I want to change the device type, okay, I can always change, okay, what device type I want to use here. Okay, what font type do you want to use? If it's a mobile screen, okay, what phone frame did you use? Okay, you can change the model. You can also change the background color. You can also change the background color. All right, so now if we click on any elements, under the prototype tab, you'd see that this white node appears. Okay, so this white node appears. So that is your prototyping node, and that's what you link to the other screen. Okay, that's what you link to the other screen. Let me know if you're following. I want to know if you're following. All right, so I want to know if you're still following. Okay, yes. So how do I link this tab here to the screen itself? Right. So right now, this tab has an active tab here, but I want to click on this. Like I want it that when I click on this tab, it moves to this screen. So what I need to do is select the elements that I want to link. Okay, so I'll select the element I want to link, and I would put it on the frame, right, that I want it to link to. Okay, what would I interact with on this screen, and where should it take me to? All right, so I mentioned we have triggers. Okay, so on tap, when I tap this particular tab, it should navigate to this other frame, which is called tab. Okay, so this is my trigger, this is my navigation, and this is my what? This is my what's it called? Let me not say like the destination, but yeah, where the page it is going to, what screen is it going to, what frame is it going to. Okay, and you can add your what's it called, animation. So there are different animations you can use. Do you want it to go just instantly? Do you want it to dissolve? Okay. Do you want it to smart animate? Okay, so you can always set all of those things depending on how you want the animation to be. Depending on what you want the animation to be, and how you want the animation to look like. All right. So I click on this tab and I come to this screen. If I want to go back, we're doing the same thing as well. You select an element here and you link it to the previous screen. Okay, so it goes back to where it started from. All right, so let me present this prototype so that you see, okay, what we've done so far. So you see what we've done so far. All right, so to present your prototype, how do you do that? You do that by clicking on the present button here at the top right, the extreme right, the top right. You see present. Can we all see it? Present. And we all see it? Present. All right, so let me present. So right now I'm presenting. I'll just wait a couple of minutes for it to load. So I want to be sure if you're still following me. Yes, so some people are still following. Amazing. Yes, so this is what the present looks like. Okay, present. So this is my first frame. Okay, and according to what I prototyped this button was my trigger, or this tab was my trigger. So when I click on this tab, you see that it goes to the screen for this tab. Then I click on this other one, you see that it goes to the previous screen. Okay, that's like simply how like prototyping works. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, okay, what made it look like, okay, there was an animation on it. Like a slide in, slide out animation. Yes, so that's where your animation comes in. All right, so yes, so that's what Smart Animate does. Okay, Smart Animate animation. So it sets what your what's it called now? It sets what your animation should look like. Okay, sliding in, sliding out, like it Smart Animate like your prototype, your screens for you. Right, so let's apply a Smart Animate to our prototype here. All right, so all you have to do is click on the prototype link and add an animation that says Smart Animate. Add an animation that says Smart Animate, and then change your easing system to ease in and out. Ease in and out. Ease in and out. So that's the same thing you do for this other place. Okay, click on the prototype link, Smart Animate, then ease in and out. Ease in and out. Okay, ease in and out. So in doing that, you get this. Okay, when I select this, comes here. When I select this, it goes back. So this is how you prototype your tabs. How you prototype your tabs. How you prototype your tabs. So that's what we're looking at. How you prototype your tabs. Okay, is in and out. You set your trigger. You set the page it's going to. Then you set your animation. Okay, you set your animation as well. Is in and out. So how many of us have been able to do that? We've been able to prototype our tab. Have we been able to prototype our tab? Yes, so that's the first exercise. Prototype your tab. Okay. How many of us have done that? Good, good, good. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. Well done, well done. All right, so the next thing we want to prototype is what? Expandables. Expandables. Okay, you have a particular menu or a particular table, okay? And on clicking on it, you want it to expand, right? And bring in the other details of that table. Okay, so how would you do that? What prototyping settings would you put into that? All right, so in order to have your expandable, so first you have to design, okay, the frame. Okay, so this is the collapse frame, and then you design, okay, how would it look like when it's expanded? How would it look like when it's collapsed? And then how would it look like when it is expanded? All right, so yes, let's now prototype it. Once you have your two design screens, how would you prototype this? Now we'll click on our prototype tab, okay, at the top right. Let's not forget, at the top right, okay, this is our prototype tab. And then we select the element you want to prototype. Select the element you want to prototype, and then link it to the other screen. Link it to the other frame with the expanded element. You link it to the other frame with the expanded look. Then you set your, what's it called? You set your triggers, you set your navigation, then you set, okay, which frame it's going to. All right, so let's do that. Let's do that. So we have this, okay. So we want it that when we click on this, it should expand and it should bring this up for us. Now, all we have to do is first of all, link it to the frame you want it to go. Once you've linked it, then you set the trigger. You set the trigger, and our trigger now is on tap. Oh, when I tap on it, what should happen? When I tap on it, okay, I want this frame to with this, okay. So I want it to swap overlay, okay. I want it to swap overlay, and I set, okay, the destination frame this. Then I set an animation. Okay, my animate is still there. Then my ease in and out is also still there. So you might be asking, how would I know when to use navigate to, or open overlay, or scroll to, or swap overlay? Well, it all depends on what you want to achieve at the end of the day. Okay, how smooth you want the interaction to be. All right, so now let me present this second expandable to you. All right, so I'm going to change my start frame here. Okay, so wherever you see this blue place line, it's called the start frame. That's where your presentation would start from, this. Okay, but now I want to move my start frame to the expandables. Okay, so during my presentation now, you see that it automatically changes it to the expandable. Yeah. So now I want to expand. How do I expand this? Okay, when I click on this, you see that it swaps. Then when I click on it again, it collapses. Okay, when I click on it, it swaps. When I click on it again, it collapses. All right, so if I didn't do what's it called, swap overlay, and I did navigate to, let's see, okay, what the difference is going to be like. You see that it's a lot, what's it called, though it gives you what you want, but the what's it called, how do I call it now, the animation is not as seamless as the previous one. All right, so the animation is not seamless as the previous one. Okay, so let's see that again. All right, well, it looks somewhat similar, but yeah, for expandables, you want it to, okay, swap and replace, okay, what was there before. All right, to replace what was there before, and then to take it back, it's the same thing. You click on this, you click on this, then apply the same settings to it, or yes, you navigate to like the previous frame. If I'm too fast, please let me know. If you're lost at any point as well, please let me know. Let me know. Okay. Are you lost at any point? Do you want me to go back? All right. So where we are at expandables, okay, how would you prototype an expandable? Oh, I want this particular thing. Okay, let me change the color so we don't. All right, so I want this, all right, to expand this, and then when I click on it again, it should go back to how it was. So we see this a lot on when we're working with tables, okay, or sometimes, yeah, when we're working with cards. So you go to your prototype, you click on the element you're in the prototype, then you link it to where it's going to. You say, okay, on tap, or navigate to, or swap overlay to the frame you want it to go to, then apply your smart animation to it. Then going back, you select the elements, you take it back, and the same thing, navigate, select the frame, smart animate, ease in and out, so it goes back or it collapses. Yeah, so this expands it, then this collapses it. This expands it, then this collapses it. So all of these things that we are working on, this is a type of low fidelity prototype now, right? So this is a type of low fidelity prototype. If we look at this i5 page here, we would see an example of an high fidelity prototype, okay, of an high fidelity prototype as well that we can work with. All right, so I mentioned before, okay, we can prototype low fidelity. We can also prototype, we can do paper prototype, we can do low fidelity, we can also do high fidelity prototype. All right, so this tab, we did tab before. All right, so this is an example of a tab right here. Okay, so this is an example of a tab. Oh, I want this tab to move to this tab. All right, I want this tab to be selected. All right, and also the one we did right now, this expandable, okay, an i5 application to it would be this. All right, okay, I want this image, when I click on it, it should expand and become like this. All right, and become like this. So these are like different applications of like prototyping. different applications of prototyping. All right, so I'm going to take some questions. Okay, I'm going to take some questions, and I'm going to leave us with these exercises. Okay, so I've explained tab and I've explained expandable, right? You can also see like other things like, okay, swipe. Okay, how does swipe work? Okay, I want something to swipe. If I access a question, all right, so if I want something to swipe, how does that work? We notice that for a swipe, for something like swipe, you need, instead of tapping, you need to drag, right? So you need to think about, okay, what are the triggers? What should the trigger be? So for example, this trigger would be on drag. All right, so when I drag it, okay, what should happen? When I drag it, what should happen? Okay, when I drag it, I want it to swipe. Okay, I want it to swipe and then give me an empty, like a different view. All right, so there are different ways you can actually apply your prototyping. Okay, so this we have just like 1 hour for this session, but we're going to need a lot more than 1 hour to like dive deeply into like prototyping, into to dive deeply into like all the types of prototyping you can actually use here. So I mentioned tabs, okay, expandables, we have swipe action, there's anticipation, there's draggable like bottom sheets. Like there are different examples or different ways you can actually apply all of this prototyping onto your what's it called now, onto your designs. Okay, so I would leave us to ask some questions now, but at the same time we've duplicated this sheet, so I want us to look at it thoroughly, okay, and look at the exercise and try to replicate the exercise on our own on this exercise sheet we have here. All right, so we can like try to replicate all the prototyping actions on our own onto this sheet, onto this other frame, right, without the prototyping. Okay, so let's take questions. Let's take questions. So I don't know if we have questions. Can different interaction be done on a single frame? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. So for example, all right, so for example, this is my frame. Okay, so I can, all right, so I can link this particular item and say, okay, on tap, it should open this. All right, so if there was something else I wanted it to do, like maybe on, you can actually look at this plus icon here. If you click on plus, you would see that you can add other triggers, okay, like while hovering, what should happen, or on drag, or while pressing. You can actually add like other interactions to it, so that like one single element can do like so many things depending on the trigger that was applied to it at that point. Yes, you can apply different interactions to like a particular element or a particular frame. Yes, you can. All right, so I on this file I have like several other bonus interaction you can practice with. So this is an example of a dashboard menu. This is an example of a dashboard menu. I'm just going to show us, okay, like how this particular interaction works. Right, so this is a typical example that you can use. I was also done using like Figma, right? This interaction was done as well on Figma. So I'm just going to show you an example. All right, so this is desktop. We can see that this is actually desktop, and you can see that So for this particular interaction, so let me change the starting frame. Okay, let me see. All right, so for this particular interaction, so I'm not sure what my start frame is. All right, so for this particular interaction, so whenever I over on an element, when I over on an element, I want the, what's it called now? I want the menu name to show. So when I over on a particular icon, I want the um, name of that particular icon to show. So let me see if it works. Right, so I'll just check the prototype thing again. All right, so while overing, okay, so while overing, I want a particular thing to appear. Let me see, okay, yeah. Then on click, I want it to go here. I'm not sure my trigger isn't working. All right, so let me check it. Well, let me check it properly. All right, so while overing, open this menu. Then while clicking, all right, so this was what I wanted to achieve. You see, it took me, you have to actually check like all of the places you want it to show in order like to ascertain that the triggers work properly. Right, so I wanted to show us this over feature. Okay, so when I over on this, what should happen? Okay, so I want the menu to show, right? So it's going to take a lot of what you call a lot of interaction, a lot of frames to actually make that happen. But if you can study this particular Figma file properly, you get to understand how it fully works. You get to understand how it fully works. Also, it takes practice. It takes practice. It's not like a one-off thing that you just do and like, okay, that's it. You keep practicing over and over how this prototyping feature works. You can check out more tutorials from time to time to understand like how can you get better at it, how can you get faster at it. So there are a lot of like different pages you can look up here. So I want us to check it out and work with it, play around with it, get to understand how the different things or how the different prototypes work. Okay, so let's look at this thoroughly. You can also share, okay, what you have done, and I can as well look at it and share feedback with you. So yes, I think I've come to the end of my session. If there are more questions, please send it in, send it in, send it in, I know we had to do it in a rush because it was just like a 1 hour session. But yes, with the file I'm leaving you with, you can play around with it, dissect it, and try to understand. For any project you have and you want to run like a particular prototype, is it the tabs? Is it the expandables? Is it like a swipe action? You can always refer to the document and look at how the prototype settings was done. Okay, and look at how the prototype test. With that, if you keep practicing like that, with time you would fully master it. With time you fully master it. With time you fully master it. So thank you everyone. Thank you, thank you very much. So I don't know if there are questions. So if there are questions, please share with me. If there are questions, please share with me. Hi Joshua, are you still there?